Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science in Architecture from Bells University of Technology in Nigeria, and a Master of Architecture from the University of Waterloo in Waterloo, Canada. He works currently at the award-winning Studio KSA in Toronto. Previously at Era Architects, he contributed to the digital reconstruction of Ladywood, a remarkable 1890s Shingle Style heritage home on Lake Simcoe lost to demolition. Working from only a handful of photographs and sketch plans, he brought the building back to life using Revit, SketchUp, and Unreal Engine, a testament to the power of technology in preserving architectural heritage. He also is the founder of Let's Talk Design, an online platform network built collaboratively with 3 other partners, boasting notable voices across the AEC industry, including Tim Fu, Adeyemo Shokunle, Tituleo Adeleye, and Anato Eromosele, among many others. Nigerian by birth, happily married and endlessly curious, exploring Toronto one frame at a time. At this section, Toby will share his journey and interests from his roots in Nigeria, moving to Toronto, to founding Let's Talk Design, and the work unfolding beyond it. Everyone, please welcome Toby.
Hi everyone. I'd like to say thank you to BAIDA for having myself in the book. It's such a great honor to be doing this. Which button do I press?
Just the left button.
So my name is Oluwatobiloba from Nigeria, and there's a story behind my name, why I got this name. Because I titled this Set of Stories. I like stories. We all do like stories. My dad drove my mom to the hospital while I was, about to be birthed, and the car, he didn't go park well. He just parked somewhere else, and my mom went up to deliver me, and he came back down to move the car. The car didn't go. He eventually had to call like a mechanic to come and move the car out of the way, right in the spot. So it just seemed like, oh, why did the car break down? Did I press that? So all that short, immense God is great, like literally at that point. So that's the story of my name. I moved to Canada. That's a picture of me in Lagos. Falamo Bridge. And I worked in Lagos a couple of years before, moving to Canada in 2023. It was a bold step. If I had waited 2 years, I probably would have been a licensed architect, in Nigeria. But I gave up everything and decided to come to Canada. But I'm grateful so far. So I have 2 masters in architecture. I'd like to say I spent enough time in this profession that I get tired of it sometimes. But I'm grateful I'm still in it. Sometimes I've had episodes of breaking up with architecture, picking it back up again. So yeah, that's my journey basically. I'd like to share 2 of my projects and a couple of other things that I do. Yes, so this is the very first competition that I ever did in 2017. I was at Bells. So this is the story of Down. I created a personal team. Down is a young Nigerian displaced by conflict, one of over 3.7 million internally displaced persons, forced to leave home and violence, insecurity and uncertainty. Yet, even in the midst of loss and instability, he carries a quiet determination, believing that his experience will one day shape him into a leader who will rebuild what was broken. Down's life, once stable, has been scattered by displacement like a scrambled Rubik's Cube. He deserves a space of reconfiguration where learning, safety, play, and community are layered like cubes itself, helping him rebuild structure and meaning. This series of images shows the process of the goal is to create a stable environment for children who've been displaced, who've had trauma, who've had lots of experiences. So we decided, the theme of the competition was to give them a home, but we decided to provide them with a school more than a home. So through adaptable spaces and interconnected forms, the architecture teaches that even in chaos, balance can be restored, giving Dhamadi not just education but the hope and agency to shape his future. And this is the end product of what we designed, and Dhamadi plays just outside the school. One of the beauty about this project is we used commonly locally sourced material, bamboo in Nigeria. And you know, one of the interesting things for me is the geometry and the shape of it. It looks dynamic and it looks like something that they'll be happy to play with and happy to go to school to interact with. This is also another view. I'd also share that it was not done in solo, it was a team project with two other people, two other colleagues of mine, Olumide and Victoria. And it was a competition actually. It was wide in Nigeria at the time, and I'm happy to share that it got the first place award. And that's my first competition. Then I moved to Canada. I could only use Revit back then. This was the very first project I did at the University of Waterloo. They gave us the brief, redesign a Charles Street bus terminal and turn it into a community center. So this bus terminal is currently not used. I think it's locked to shut. So as at the time, I think it was used for COVID. I think this COVID camp back then. But one of the things I discovered about this particular project is a lot of people had memories with it. It's like Union Station, like you pass through, you go to work, you meet people, you run into people. So it was very dear to people's heart, and we had the option to either demolish it and create a very interesting type of form or preserve the building. But I took a lonely path to keep the building and preserve it. So I gave myself the constraint of I need to preserve the geometry because I want people to be able to come back and say, look, I was at this spot at this time when I was feeling this way, and then look. So usually spaces hold memories for us. So that's something that really intrigues me. And wow, thank you.
I think just yeah, anything else to your right? It's okay. Yeah, that one else should be fine.
So this is a picture of how it was used as at the time. You can see people waiting. It was a video documentary, and I could really connect with it. And I'm like, I wouldn't want this to be outwardly replaced with another type of geometry. So this is my proposal as much as possible. This was all done in Revit, like start to finish. Everything you see here was done in Revit. People ask me, did I take it to Australia? I like to brag that, yeah, I use Revit like that. And I'm still learning from Ibuka. And I'm on the artistic side of the use of Revit. Ibuka is on like the very technical details. And yeah, so this is an overall view of the project. I'll just run through. Basically, I created like a central community space. So this is connected on like an open street. And I added some extra pavilions. You could go through this. It was an interesting brief, and I got an award also for the highest standing project. Yes, I like to brag about these little wins because it just supports my journey in architecture, and yeah. And then after my first or second term, I went to ERA, Canada's Heritage Company, to work. And one of the things that really helped me to get into ERA was my use of Revit. And they gave us this task that there's a project that was very dear to the company that had been demolished, and we need to revive it. So they actually wanted to go to the site to preserve it, but on getting there, they realized the building had been demolished. So yeah, I took up the project with images, I created it in Revit, and how much time do I have left?
1 minute, but then you have a few minutes.
Awesome, thank you. Renee's doing a good job. And yeah, that's this picture of me and the company so far, and yeah, it was a really nice experience actually working with the area. And on the side, the days that I've said, oh, architecture is not for me, I need to do something else, I need to just pick up my camera. My camera is over there at the back there. So what I do from time time to time is I take pictures. This is BID's building. It's not far from my office. And curiously, I feel like projects in your construction phase should be documented and tell stories, how it evolves over time. So I know over the years, maybe after this project is complete, I'm also curious how would this eventually become that. So all of that in between the questions. So I just go around curiously. And I recently made a video, this is on my Instagram. It's about Chinatown. It reminds me a lot about Lagos, the informality, or how they sell, how they put umbrellas on the road. It's just beautiful to just watch and observe people, how they interact with spaces. So I'm in search of stories. I like stories. And this I started in 2019. It's called Let's Talk Design. Out of school, I'm like, oh. Okay, so I started Let's Talk Design in 2019. Out of school, I realized that it's different in practice versus when I was in school. Me and my guys were learning many softwares, challenging ourselves, doing competition. But then reality came. But then I realized, okay, let me create like a space where designers, we can have conversations. And so Let's Talk Design is over 5 years old. We've had conversations with Team Fu and a couple of other designers from Nigeria and across the world. And it's a growing community that I'm proud of every time, And yes, so this is where I find stories, design, architecture, photography, videography, conversations, and community. I also like to interview people, ask questions. I've almost asked them, how did you transition from material design now you're heading a BIM role, so it's inspiring when I hear people's stories. So I look forward to also hearing your stories. And a challenge to us quickly, in a digital world full of everything, what people are actually hungry for is something genuine. I make sure to put out my work out there, share my story, all of it. And because nobody sees the world exactly the way I do, and that specificity, that singular perspective is what makes me irreplaceable. The world doesn't just want to hear it, it needs to. Thank you, BAIDA.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Yeah, we'll open it up for questions.
I have a question. So I recognize you from Timber Fever. You could have put that competition. Yeah, you should have put that first place. Okay, got you.
I actually wanted to, but you know what? Reading just gave us 10 minutes. 10 decades into 10 minutes. Or 1 decade into 10 minutes, really. But yeah, I actually thought of it. I remember it.
Yes, I remember a conversation too. Funny story. Before we even built anything, he came and told me, I'm gonna win this thing. I don't know if you remember. And I was like, all right, we'll see. Of course, it's not one. But my question to you is a simple question, but I think it'll be a telltale. Why architecture? Like, why did you choose architecture?
Good question. My dad's pharmacy, mom pharmacy, brother medical, brother pharmacy. My sister's in medical school, so I was the only one. Firstborn, and right from time, every prize-giving event, I would always go out and take just one gift in technical drawing. And it was something that I was always interested in. And I just knew I wanted to do architecture right from time. I enjoyed buildings, I was very curious. And to a large extent, my parents also supported that vision, getting me onto space. And then I did arts and design at E-level, but it was more design, graphics, art inclined, but I knew I had that creative ability, and architecture was like one of those. I'm grateful I actually chose architecture, because sometimes I like to call myself a designer, rather than architect, but yeah, architecture just gave me that really.
That's right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice presentation. Thank you for sharing your work with us. I have a question that's something I actually wrestle with as an architect and real estate professional developer, and is the tension between preserving history and creating something new. I think as architects, there's this almost like this God complex to impose your will on reality, but there's also nostalgia to preserve history. So you showed us a bunch of projects, one where you're designing new things, and obviously the experience with ERA that's all about preservation. I wrestled with this when I was doing my graduate thesis on architecture. And I guess my question is, how do you make that decision? What is worth preserving? What is just romantic? Like I walk around Toronto and see a lot of things where expensive when you run the numbers. It's not the most efficient thing to do with your money, but it's like lipstick and you change the whole inside. Versus if you did something new, it's probably gonna save you money, but then the trade-off is that you're erasing history. So is it really history? It's just, lipstick. Like, I'm curious.
I appreciate that question, and I have one building in front of beside our office, and they're doing the exact same thing. I'm always curious and asking.
So, can I just add to that?
Of course.
Ish? Because I just came back from England, and a lot of the stuff that they do out there with keeping old buildings, even buildings that were made in like 1800s and stuff, even if they'll keep the facade, but they'll add on to it while keeping it, and they will, I don't want to say like, restore it, but if it's parts of it are falling apart, they will at least refinish or to the facade just to keep it, but they're not keeping it as a structural member. So it's like you can keep those buildings, like you can do stuff with those buildings, whether you just keep a portion of the inside and then build around it, or you keep a part of that facade. So it's almost like, again, I was saying it to somebody earlier, where Canada is like the youngest sister between the UK and the United States, and it's always trying to prove itself by just knocking a bunch of stuff down and rebuilding to say, look, I did something. So it's almost like you have to look at it where if you have a bunch of historic buildings on a block, kind of leave those historic buildings and build within it or use it. And then if you have other portions of the block where they've taken stuff down already, then impose your will.
Just to add to that, I think the reason I'm asking the question is because as I transitioned my career and I was like more on the owner's side, we were at a meeting where the whole site was filled with heritage buildings, like the heritage, like there were 50 old houses around Florence Sherborne, and we were proposing a tower. And there's this panel, history preservation panel, that makes decisions: what are we keeping, how much of it are we keeping? And I was hearing the rationale for why we should keep it. So there's some buildings that obviously have historical significance that I would say is not subjective. It means something. So one guy turned up his mic and says, the reason we should keep one building, probably the worst one that's literally falling apart, and it doesn't look good, was that someone was hiding in the basement during World War II.
That's the story.
That's the story that is
The memory.
making the building
Yes.
worth keeping. And for me, it's like, how do you make that decision? Like, where is the line between
I know.
rational and crazy?
It's a hard, it brings me back to that being sensitive to what has gone before. Like that project that I did, I feel like why I think the city has like different classes of like areas you need to demolish. But one of the things that I appreciate, especially preserving the facade, is preserving the story, the memory, because you can walk back 5, 10, 20 years ago and still have that same building, that wayfinding makes it easy. It preserves the character and language of the city, which is, the memory is like the tangible part of any space, because you realize that, for example, you stay in a particular building or house or room, and when you're moving somewhere else, you kind of like feel like you've had a piece of yourself and you find it hard to leave it on. You have to move to a bigger place. So like that lived experience is like the most valuable, beyond all the windows and all this stuff like that moment. So yeah, I feel like that's part of the reason why the city is trying to make sure that they're sensitive to what has happened here in the time. So I feel like respecting timelessness and doing it in such a way that I feel like that's where creativity as an architect comes in. How do we balance and respect what has come before and all this and still be able to achieve it? That's where our work comes in. I'm not totally for let's demolish everything, because they set the precedence, they gave the idea. So yeah, I like to.
I don't think it's an answer, by the way. It's a tension that everybody like struggles with. And it's just interesting.
It boils down to the story. What's the story of the space? That's the only thing that will make
In that particular story, I thought it was ridiculous, but
I know. Sometimes I've had a particular project idea where the homeowner wanted to replace the added a third floor and put like a very nice modern contemporary laser cut rail, metal rail. The city did not approve of that. Like it's too different from everything that I have. So I feel like there are lots of intentionality to preserve the character, look and feel, to create that cohesiveness. If not, it looks different. I know we're architects, we like to make signatures, we like to create different things, but respecting, so it's like respecting context, basically. Yeah.
We'll probably take one more, and then we'll just open it up, and you guys can keep talking about the speakers, and yeah, we can just.
Maybe question for Ebukati, just in case.
I already knew my Oluwatobi.
Or we can just open it up now. Yeah, maybe let's do that. Thank you so much, Toby and Zuika. Those are really great presentations. I'll maybe say like a couple of things. So like J-Rel mentioned, this is our second Open Studio session. We're hoping to continue this and do this at least quarterly and provide a platform for everybody to share their work. And yeah, it can be presentations where you're sharing your history and your work experience, but we're also opening it up to students who want to get feedback on their work ahead of a review or ahead of an application, or like Jarrell, I think you mentioned, like a BIM workflow that you think would really benefit the community and that they can learn something from. We're super open, so if you're interested in doing that at some point, reach out to BAIDA through Instagram, email. You can talk to me directly or any of our team members that are here. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again to the speakers.
You're really good.